After a very long travel day from South Carolina, we're pulling into Thousand Trails, Williamsburg, Virginia. We have been to Williamsburg several times, but we've never stayed at this park before. So we're here for 2 weeks, and we are a little bit prepared for it to be a very loud stay because the interstate is right across the road from the campground. But we're going to get checked in here and see what kind of sight we get. So we just got checked in. He reminded us that this is their first weekend open for the season. We're at the very beginning of April, and the campground's probably about half full. He said some people might have canceled because there was a huge storm that came through the south over the weekend, and a lot of rain and tornadoes, and we just escaped it getting east of South Carolina today. So we got a nice pull-through site, he said, 50 amp, full hookups.
Colonial.
Sounds like it's going to be easy parking job.
That cat needs to get in my mirror.
Oh, kitty. You're in the way. Nice pull-through site. Easy peasy.
Famous last words.
That quick pull-through parking job. The highway is actually not that loud back here. We're at the back of the park, or kind of in the middle of the park, but it's also very windy right now, so I don't know if I just can't hear the cars above the wind. But at least it's just a highway hum, so I'm sure it won't be any problem, especially when we're inside the RV. As I was doing my little Google search for things to do around Williamsburg, and as I said before, we have been here several times, but we obviously haven't done everything, so I was just looking for something that we hadn't done before. And this Fort Monroe popped up down in Newport News, which is a little south of Williamsburg. So Williamsburg is at the top of a peninsula that goes down into, there's a James River on the left where Jamestown, Virginia is, and then York River on the right. And at the very bottom of that peninsula is a city called Newport News. At the very bottom of that city is a fort called Fort Monroe, and this was built in originally in the early 1600s, but then was made into a larger fort right after the War of 1812. And I gotta say, this is the biggest fort I've ever seen. This whole area with all these houses and this big land and everything is inside of the fort. The fortification walls are around the outside of this kind of town. So the fort was just decommissioned in 2011 as an active Army fort. Now it's a historical site, and a lot of these buildings are just rental apartments and houses that anybody can rent from the city or maybe from the state, something like that. Nobody can own the houses here, but they can rent. So we just did a nice little tour of the museum here called the Casemate Museum. We went to the visitor center, and in that Casemate Museum was an excellent display about Jefferson Davis, who was the president of the Confederacy during the Civil War. He was imprisoned here after the war. In this cell, they have the cell where he was imprisoned and the door that he was imprisoned behind, and a nice display about him. Also, Fort Monroe was the very first site of the first ship of African slaves that ever landed in the United States, 1619, landed here. It wasn't called Fort Monroe then, but this is where they landed. And then after the Civil War, many emancipated and fugitive slaves would come through Fort Monroe and claim sanctuary here as they were escaping to the north. So kind of a book-ended story of slavery here at Fort Monroe, which makes it a very important site, that the first ship and also the freedom of the slaves were closely tied to this fort. So a great afternoon out here at the fort. It is a national monument run by the National Park Service, but it's free admission, and even free admission to the museum. You just have to get a little sticker to get you in there. So we are having a great day out in southern Virginia, and we're going to go out tonight for a special dinner. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. All right, tomorrow is our 30th anniversary.
Wow.
And we have a big trip planned for this summer. We like to, on every of the special 5-year anniversaries, we do a big trip somewhere. So this summer, we're going to take you to Newfoundland, Canada, which we've never been to before. We're very excited about, and it's a quick trip from our main land over to there. Not quick.
Well,
it's closer than
we're going to
here.
go by way of New Brunswick and Nova Scotia with the RV, and then we'll get over to Newfoundland and back.
But for today, to celebrate our anniversary, we're going to have dinner at the Melting Pot. Our family has a long, strange history with fondue. We love fondue. We've made it a special family thing that we do on holidays, Valentine's Day, New Year's Day, and when we go on vacation in Canada, we love to do fondue. So found this restaurant, and we're going to have a nice feast here in Virginia today. So we're splurging for the 4-course fondue meal for 2. And I've never seen anyone make the fondue in front of me. That was really interesting to see her recipe. White wine, alpine cheese, nutmeg, lemon juice, garlic,
And a little black pepper.
and black pepper. So we got cheese fondue, then we each got a salad, then we have some main course with different meats fondue
with
that
a
will be in a
broth
cocoa
style.
van broth, and then chocolate fondue for dessert. Yum.
That's tasty.
Different types of seafood and chicken and steak and pork and sauces and veggies and a cocoa van meat broth.
Not sure I believe.
And their website has this cool timer, so you can, once you put your skewer in, then you can start the timer for that type of meat. Look at this cute little happy anniversary. And look at all this stuff.
I'm glad I did not eat today until here. And we got the dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate fondue. Oh, I love it. I love it some chocolate fondue. Just doing a little project here on a cold Saturday in Virginia. We decided not to go out today because the weather's not great. But last night at 5:45 a.m., our sensor, freeze flood sensor in the main storage bay alarmed and woke both of us up. Now this has happened before. We saw from the notification that it was water, not freezing temperatures. So sometimes if it's very hot one day and then cold overnight, condensation will get on the back of the water heater and kind of drip down and trigger that sensor. And then other times we've just maybe had a slow drip, or if it's raining, it's been raining very hard for the past 2 days, and the outside of the water heater entrance is not totally watertight, so sometimes rain can get in there and trigger the sensor.
Just to be here, this is where there might be the water coming in. When you said about rain, it's not like this is open, but around this,
There's the water
there's
heater.
at least a chance that water could get down in here. I kind of doubt it.
There's no water in the water heater. It's all dusty and dry.
Yeah, well, it would be...
It would just be from the top.
Well, or from something back there.
Yeah.
But it happens so infrequently, and it seemed like it's been pouring rain for, like a lot of rain for 2-3 days. The other time it was super humid and then cold at night, and it's just kind of looks like it seeps. But we've had other times where there was a little drip on those, RV quality connections that I tightened or replaced. So there may be a very, very slow drip that I'll eventually get to as I pull stuff out, but...
So we weren't overly concerned. We didn't hear any rushing water or anything, but Jason did run outside and shut the main water off, the spigot, to the campground water. So we were confident that, we've got the water turned off. It's probably not a big deal. And we just went back to sleep. Now that it's daytime and we can look at it more closely, we did crawl in there, and it does look like it's just a little bit of either rain or condensation just seeping along the floor to that water sensor. So not a huge problem, but as a result of that, we have decided to do this little project. So this wall right here, a piece of plywood covers the utility part of the storage bay, and it's very difficult to get it out, especially when our storage bay is full of stuff. There's bins pressed against it, it's very long, so in order to get enough space to crawl in there, we have to kind of unload the storage bay, unscrew this wall and take it out. So Jason decided he was finally done with that, and he's going to just cut off a few inches off the top of this board to make it easier to get in and out.
I peeled back that felting that was on there instead of cutting through it to get out of the way, so now I can fold it back over and use it. All right, the moment of truth, will it fit?
Mm-hmm.
So now it can just slide in and go in place. And now there's a bigger gap there, but it already was a gap on top, so don't care. And that way we can even kind of look in and look over if we had to without even taking this off.
That's a great idea, and we can shine a light in
Yep.
there. Good.
Just as a quick...
And then how are you going to attach it?
To this 2x4 here.
Just put some screws in here. You're not going to screw on the other side?
No, I didn't last time. As long as this is screwed tightly here.
And there's going to be bins against it that hold it over.
And it's resting against a couple 2x4s down there as well. But
Okay.
that way I can just pop out 2 screws and pull it out completely from here instead of having to climb in and unscrew the other. I stopped screwing that in a long time ago. Nice.
Good project.
All right.
Well, you can't be near Williamsburg, Virginia without doing at least a walk through Colonial Williamsburg. What a wonderful area this is. We are going to do just a nice afternoon walk today through the Colonial Village. We're not going to pay for the tickets to go inside of the historical buildings. We have done that a couple times before. It is well worth it. If you're ever in Williamsburg and you've never done that, be sure to visit the Visitor Center, buy your ticket for the day, and go into all of the historical houses and taverns. The Governor's Mansion is gorgeous. But right now, we're just gonna take a nice walk around here and then head across the street, because across the street from Colonial Williamsburg is the College of William and Mary. So I love American history, I love colonial history, and we're gonna take a nice walk around here and take you with us. The highlight of Colonial Williamsburg is the Governor's Palace, where the governor of the colony of Virginia lived. And it's a gorgeous example of colonial architecture, really high end for the time in the United States. And behind there is a beautiful garden and a maze, so that's definitely worth going into if you have never before. Remember in a previous video I told you that if you're looking for good places to walk around unfamiliar cities, college campuses are a good bet because they're beautifully landscaped, they've got old beautiful buildings on them, and they're safe. And so we're doing a very special walk today because we're at the College of William and Mary, which is right across the street from Colonial Williamsburg. It was the second oldest college in the country, founded in 1693 after Harvard was founded in 1636. And it also contains the Wren Building, which was designed by Sir Christopher Wren, a famous architect, and it was built in 1695, making it the oldest academic building still standing in the United States. The town of Williamsburg was not actually here when the College of William and Mary was built. The charter came from King William and Queen Mary in England, and that is why it's called the College of William and Mary. It's the only college or university in the United States that was started by a royal charter. Well, we've had a great 2 weeks here in the Williamsburg area and really pleasantly surprised by this campground, this Thousand Trails Williamsburg.
We'd popped in here way back when we were, even before we picked up the RV, and we thought it's going to be really loud because it's kind of on the map and up front it's close to the highway, so you can hear that. But once you're in here, like right now, I don't really hear road noise.
Yeah.
So that turned out to be a lot nicer than we were wondering.
And also, we've really appreciated how suburban this park is, because some campgrounds are lovely and it's quiet and peaceful, but they're really far from stuff, like half an hour from the closest grocery store. So we've really appreciated this past 2 weeks being only 15 minutes from major shopping areas, lots of towns, and of course there's tons of historical stuff to do around here. Colonial Williamsburg, William and Mary, the Jamestown settlement, and Yorktown battlefield are also here, which we didn't show you, but we have been to before, and they're lovely historical sites. So,
well, and as you kind of do your 1 hour and 2 hour circles as well, it's the Chesapeake Bay. You could go over to Richmond. You could go, other places as well, which we've done. But we've done a lot in this area, so we didn't need to. So there's so much to do that's within half hour, 45 minutes of here as well.
Jason has said before that coastal Virginia is the New England of the South.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of colonial history down here, and it feels sometimes like New England with all the older houses and the forests and stuff.
Which is no doubt deeply offensive to Virginians or
whatever
whatever they call themselves. I don't care.
Well, listen, next week we're going to head up to Pennsylvania to the Lancaster area to visit my parents, get some work done on the truck, and just hang out there for a couple of weeks. I don't know if there's going to be anything to show you, but
it'll be a new campground, though. We haven't stayed there before.
We will be at a new campground, yeah. So if we see you, we'll see you. Until then, have a great week. Thanks. Bye, guys.